Have you ever thought that a 10-year-old girl could unveil the secret of an entire multi-million-dollar empire with just a whisper? What would make a tech millionaire, who thought he had everything under control, be stunned by the words of a child? Would you dare to trust your intuition when the whole world tells you you're wrong? And if the love you put all your faith in turns out to be merely a stage play, what would you do to discover the truth? Imagine a lavish room in San Francisco, sunlight streaming through the windows, yet the air feeling icy because a secret is about to explode. This is a story that will make you tense, laugh, and breathe a sigh of relief with an unexpected ending. Are you ready? Let's join True Millionaire Moments to discover it today. San Francisco, the city of tech dreams and golden bridges, is bathing in the late afternoon sunlight. In a modern villa atop Nob Hill, Ethan Caldwell, a 32-year-old tech millionaire, sits deep in thought before a computer screen. With messy brown hair, sharp blue eyes, and a rolled-up shirt, Ethan is the epitome of success. He is the CEO of Nexlify, a leading AI company with the Vision Core project, an algorithm that can change how the world processes data. But today, Ethan is not thinking about code or stocks. He's thinking about Clara Evans, his girlfriend, who made his heart race with her perfect smile last night. And there's also Ava, the 10-year-old girl he adopted 6 months ago, who is turning his life upside down in ways he never expected. 6 months ago, Ethan stood in an orphanage in Oakland, facing Ava for the first time. A petite girl with jet-black curly hair, sparkling brown eyes but full of caution. Ethan, a single millionaire, never thought he would be a father. But when he read Ava's profile, a girl who lost both parents in a car accident, courageously surviving through lonely days, he felt a strange connection. This girl needs a chance, he thought. On the day he brought Ava home, she held his hand tightly, saying nothing. But that grip felt like a silent promise. They would be family. Ethan spent that whole night watching Ava sleep, his heart filled with hope, tinged with anxiety. He wanted to give her the world, but could he be the father she needed? Now, in the corner of his office, Ava sits cross-legged on the carpet, holding a big cup of chocolate ice cream. Her curly hair is messy, her brown eyes sparkle as she hums "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," a song her mother used to sing to her. Chocolate drips down Ava's chin, staining her shirt, but she doesn't care. "Uncle Ethan, this ice cream is the best in the world," Ava exclaims, smiling widely, revealing ice cream stains on her teeth. Ethan glances over, chuckling warmly. "Slow down, kiddo, or you'll get it all in your hair." Since coming home, Ava clings to Ethan in ways he never imagined. She often runs after him, talks about school, or sits beside him as he works, her curious eyes watching the code on the screen. In the evenings, Ava usually snuggles up to him on the sofa, watching cartoons, holding her ice cream cup, giggling when Ethan mimics characters. Though clumsy, Ethan starts to love these moments, loves how Ava turns the cold villa into a home. But Ethan also knows he hasn't truly connected deeply with Ava yet. He gives her everything: a good school, a room full of toys, but conversations about emotions. He still feels awkward. He's afraid he's not good enough to understand a girl who's lost so much. Ava stands up, still holding the ice cream cup, approaching the bookshelf. She stops before an abstract painting hanging on the wall, a gift from Clara to Ethan last month. "To make your office less dry," Clara had said with a sweet kiss. But Ava frowns. Something isn't right. She tilts her head, ice cream dripping onto the carpet. "Uncle Ethan," Ava calls softly, her voice suddenly serious. Ethan doesn't look up, still typing. "What's up, kiddo? Don't spill the ice cream anymore." Ava takes a deep breath, steps closer to him, ice cream smudging her face. She tiptoes, whispering in Ethan's ear, her voice small but sharp. "There's a camera in your office, but it's not yours." Ethan stops typing. He turns slowly as if the air around him is heavy. "What did you say?" Ethan's voice is low, cautious. Ava points to the painting. "I saw it flash last night when you were asleep. I checked with the tablet. The signal was weird. It didn't match with our home cameras." Ethan looks at Ava, then at the painting. His heart pounds. Ava, the girl he adopted with the hope of giving her a new life, is talking about espionage. He stands up, walks to the painting, his hand slightly trembling. He lifts the painting. And just as Ava said, behind the wooden frame, a tiny black circle, a spy camera, quietly watching him. Ethan turns back, his expression changed. No longer the confident CEO's look. It's the look of someone who has just realized the world he built might be collapsing. He kneels down, looking straight into Ava's eyes. "Ava, how long have you known about this?" Ava bites her lip, her hand clenching the ice cream cup tightly. "Since last week. But I was afraid you wouldn't believe me." Ethan places a hand on her shoulder, his heart aching to think Ava kept this secret alone, fearing he wouldn't listen. "I believe you," he says firmly. "And I'm proud of your bravery. Now, I need you to tell me everything." Ava nods, her eyes shining with determination. But could this camera have been planted by Clara, the woman Ethan loved deeply? Or is there a bigger conspiracy awaiting them? And Ava, the girl with the smudged ice cream, can she help Ethan uncover the truth? Have you ever discovered something surprising from someone close to you? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to True Millionaire Moments to see how Ava and Ethan will face this secret in the next part. Every viewer like you is a flame that lights up these moving stories. Under the dim lights of the mansion on Nob Hill, San Francisco, the atmosphere was heavy like before a storm. Ethan Caldwell, a 32-year-old tech millionaire, stood silently by the bookshelf, his hand still holding the painting he had just taken down. A tiny spy camera, hidden behind the wooden frame, served as a chilling warning. In front of him stood Ava, the 10-year-old girl he had adopted, with a half-melted chocolate ice cream cup, her brown eyes sparkling with determination. "Uncle Ethan, I know you're surprised, but I've checked. The signal from that camera, it goes somewhere outside our house." Ethan looked at Ava, his heart pounding. This little girl with curly, tangled hair and ice cream smudges on her chin was shaking his perfect world. 6 months with Ava had changed Ethan more than he had anticipated. He remembered the early days when Ava was shy and would only sit quietly in the corner. But gradually, she opened up. Every morning, Ava would run down to the kitchen, hug Ethan, and tell stories of dreaming about the whole sweet world of ice cream. Every evening, she would snuggle up to him on the sofa, ice cream in hand, giggling when he teased her about eating so much ice cream that she'd become a walking ice cream cone. Ethan loved the way Ava brightened the house, loved the drawings she gave him. Colorful houses with 2 people holding hands. But deep down, Ethan feared he wasn't good enough to make up for Ava's losses. He wondered, could he give her a real family? "Are you sure, Ava?" Ethan asked in a low voice, sitting down in the leather chair, rubbing his temples. Ava nodded, placing her ice cream on the table, a few drops falling onto the wooden surface. "I couldn't sleep last night, so I took the tablet to check the network. There were some strange signals that didn't match your security cameras. This one was the strongest." Ava pointed to the painting, taking the tablet from her backpack, and opened a data-filled app. Ethan frowned and leaned closer. The screen displayed a network map with a blinking red dot. "This is our house," Ava explained, her finger gliding over the screen. "Your security cameras are the green dots, but this red dot, it sends data somewhere downtown." Ethan felt a chill down his spine. He, the CEO of Nexlify, who built the $1 million Vision Core, got blindsided? He looked at Ava, pride mixed with worry rising within him. "Where did you learn this?" Ava shrugged, a mischievous smile on her face, ice cream sticking to her cheeks. "I watch you work. Plus, at the orphanage, we hacked Wi-Fi to watch pirated movies." Ethan chuckled, but the laughter quickly faded. He stood up, walked to the window, gazing at the shimmering San Francisco Bay. "Ava, have you seen anyone do anything strange near this painting?" Ava bit her lip, hesitating. She loved Ethan like a father and didn't want to break his heart. But she remembered last night when Clara came for dinner. Clara, with her golden hair and sunshine smile, stood in front of the painting for a long time, touching the frame as if inspecting something. Ava used to like Clara, dreaming she could be her mother. But now, instinct warned her. Clara had secrets. "Ms. Clara," Ava softly said. Yesterday she stood near the painting, just staring at it for a long time. Ethan spun around, eyes darkening. "Clara." His voice went hoarse. Clara, the one he adored, who recently whispered, "I love you," over a candlelit dinner with wine. Ethan shook his head. "It can't be. Clara doesn't know much about tech. She's in marketing, Ava. Maybe someone else installed this camera." Ava bowed her head, clutching the tablet. She remembered Clara's hugs, buying her ice cream, but now those gestures felt fake. "Uncle Ethan, I can check more. If I find another signal, you'll believe me, right?" Ethan looked at Ava, fraught with turmoil. He wanted to believe Clara, but Ava's steadfast gaze made him waver. He remembered Ava's grip on his hand when she first came home, remembered the trust she placed in him despite being scarred by the world. "All right," he sighed. "But you must be careful. And don't do anything dangerous." Ava grinned, ice cream showing on her teeth. "I promise. Oh, by the way, tomorrow can we get strawberry ice cream? We're out of chocolate." Ethan shook his head, chuckling wryly. This girl, always about ice cream. That night, Ava sat in her room, the window open to moonlight. She wore headphones, her tablet glowing, humming Somewhere Over the Rainbow. The song reminded her of her mother, the days when dreams were all she had to hold on to. Ava hacked deeply into the camera signal and then she found it. Another red dot in the living room behind the crystal vase Clara gifted. Then another in Ethan's bedroom. Ava shivered. "It's not just one," she whispered. The next morning, Ava rushed down to the kitchen, her hair disheveled, hugging the tablet. Ethan was brewing coffee, eyes bleary from sleeplessness, wrestling with thoughts of Clara and Ava. "Uncle Ethan!" Ava shouted, startling him, making him spill coffee on his shirt. "Ava, calm down. What is it?" Ava placed the tablet on the table, pointing to the network map. "I found it. There are 3 more cameras. In the living room, the bedroom, the garage. They all send data to the same spot downtown." Ethan stared at the screen, his face paling. He recalled Clara tidying the living room, touching the vase. He remembered her staying over, lying beside him in a watched room. "Ava," he said, his voice trembling. "You're amazing. But I need time to think." Ava nodded but felt troubled. Ethan hadn't believed Clara was the culprit yet. She looked out the window, watching Clara drive up, her smile radiant. Would Clara find out Ava's investigation? And if Ethan didn't act, where would this secret lead them? Have you ever suspected someone close but didn't dare confront them? Share your guesses in the comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to protect Ethan in the next part. Every story you share is a flame that lights up our emotional journey. The next day, the gentle sun of San Francisco crept through the window of the mansion on Nob Hill. But Ethan Caldwell's mind was still shrouded in darkness. He sat in the kitchen, holding a cold cup of coffee, his eyes shadowed from a sleepless night. In front of him was Ava's tablet, displaying a network map with flashing red dots. 4 spy cameras hidden in the house: the office, living room, bedroom, and garage. The whisper of Ava, the 10-year-old girl he adopted, echoed in his mind. Ms. Clara. She was standing near the painting yesterday, just staring at it. Ethan gripped his cup tightly, his mind in turmoil. Could Clara Evans, whom he deeply loved, be a traitor? Or did Ava, with her sharp instincts but still just a child, misunderstand? Ava ran down the stairs, her curly hair untamed, carrying a cup of strawberry ice cream freshly taken from the fridge. She wore a t-shirt with the Golden Gate Bridge on it, smudged with stains from yesterday. "Uncle Ethan!" Ava exclaimed, beaming, but her smile faded upon seeing his expression. She placed the ice cream on the table, sat across from him, her brown eyes shimmering with worry. "Are you mad at me? Because I talked about Ms. Clara?" Ethan shook his head, placing a hand on Ava's shoulder, feeling her small but determined presence. "No, Ava. I'm not mad. I just need some time to understand this." He remembered the moments Ava clung to him, the way she hugged him every morning, drew pictures of them holding hands, or nestled against him watching cartoons with a cup of ice cream in hand. Ava's love was genuine, and Ethan didn't want to hurt her. But Clara? He still hoped there was another explanation. Ava bit her lip, looking at the melting ice cream. She knew Ethan loved Clara, but her instincts told her she had to act. "Uncle Ethan, I think we need help. I'm good at hacking, but not enough to find out who's behind these cameras." Ethan frowned, surprised by Ava's maturity. "Who do you think can help?" Ava smirked mischievously, ice cream smeared on her nose. "Ms. Sophie. She was an AI engineer for you before, super talented. Ms. Clara didn't like Ms. Sophie, so she got fired. I bet Ms. Sophie knows something." Ethan was stunned. Sophie Harper, the talented engineer who was once the star of Nexlify, was pressured to resign by Clara out of jealousy 3 months ago. He remembered the times Clara complained. "Sophie is too close to you, Ethan." Could Clara have deliberately gotten rid of Sophie? Ethan nodded, a flicker of hope rising in him. "All right, Ava. I'll contact Sophie. But you have to promise not to do anything reckless." Ava was startled, spilling some ice cream on the table, quickly wiping it with her hand, leaving a humorous pink streak. "Oops, I promise, really promise. Oh, and Uncle, buy vanilla ice cream tomorrow. The strawberry is a bit sour." Ethan laughed, the first time that day, the heaviness slightly lifting. "You, little one, is ice cream your whole world?" Ava giggled, lighting up the entire kitchen. In the afternoon, Ethan and Ava headed to a small cafe in the Mission District, where Sophie had arranged to meet. The place was filled with the aroma of roasted coffee and waffles, with a warm atmosphere and colorful murals. Sophie Harper, 30 years old, entered, her brown hair tied up, her sharp green eyes behind black-rimmed glasses. She wore a denim jacket and jeans, exuding an energetic but calm demeanor. "Ethan." Sophie nodded, her tone neutral but her eyes briefly pained. "Long time no see." Ethan lowered his head, regretting having let Clara force Sophie out. "Sophie, I owe you an apology, and I need your help." Ava, sitting beside him, clutching a cup of fresh strawberry ice cream, chimed in. "Ms. Sophie, I'm Ava. I found spy cameras in Uncle Ethan's house. We think Ms. Clara installed them, but we need you to check the signal." Sophie raised an eyebrow, looking at Ava, then chuckled when she noticed ice cream on the girl's chin. "Wow, little miss, you're quite the surprise. Spy cameras? Tell me more." Ava excitedly recounted, from the painting to the network map, her hands gesturing causing ice cream splatters on the table. Sophie wiped the table, smiling warmly. "You remind me of myself as a kid, always tinkering with my dad's computer." Ethan added about the 4 cameras, the signal leading to downtown. Sophie listened intently, her expression serious. "This signal isn't simple. Someone's using military-grade encryption. Ethan, your Vision Core project is worth millions. If Clara's involved, she's not acting alone." Ethan clenched his fists, his heart aching. He recalled the nights Clara lay beside him, whispering about the future. But now everything seemed fake. "Sophie, can you help us trace the signal?" Sophie nodded, her gaze resolute. "Consider the old debt paid. But Ethan, if Clara's the culprit, are you ready to face her?" Ava looked at Ethan, her heart in turmoil. She loved Ethan like a father, wanting to protect him, but she also feared he'd be hurt because of Clara. She remembered the times Clara bought her ice cream, but now she doubted every move. "Ms. Sophie," Ava said softly, "I can help. I know how to hack the camera signal." Sophie laughed, patting Ava's head. "Wow, we have a little hacker on our team. But be careful, don't get ice cream on my laptop." Ava giggled, ice cream now smudging her nose. That evening, Sophie brought her laptop to the mansion. In the living room, she and Ava sat on the carpet, analyzing the signal. Ethan watched, emotions welling up. He remembered the early days when Ava came to him, shy but gradually grew attached. He remembered the painting Ava drew, the 2 of them holding hands under the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, Ava was taking risks to protect him. Sophie looked up, breaking Ethan's train of thought. "Ava's right. The signal leads to a building downtown, but it's heavily encrypted. It'll take a few days to break it." Ethan nodded, but his heart was heavy. He looked out the window, seeing Clara's car parked in front of the house. Clara stepped out, her smile radiant. But this time, Ethan felt cold. Will Sophie uncover the truth about Clara? And will Ava inadvertently put Ethan in danger? Have you ever found an unexpected ally in a difficult time? Share your story in the comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava and Sophie will do to protect Ethan in the next part. Each viewer like you is a flame, lighting up grand dreams. Night fell over San Francisco, the city lights twinkling like scattered stars. In a mansion on Nob Hill, Ethan Caldwell stood by the living room window, watching Clara Evans walk into the house. Clara's radiant smile, her shiny blonde hair and sweet voice as she called, "Ethan, I'm here," filled his mind with turmoil. Just a few hours before, Ava, his 10-year-old adopted daughter, and Sophie Harper, a former AI engineer at Nexlify, had revealed 4 hidden spy cameras in his home: the office, living room, bedroom, and garage. The signals led to a downtown building, military-grade encrypted. And Ava suspected Clara, the woman Ethan loved deeply, was behind it all. Ethan clenched his hands, wondering, am I being deceived? Ava sat with her legs crossed on the sofa, holding a fresh cup of vanilla ice cream, with her curly hair in a mess. She glanced at Clara, feeling a heavy heart. Ava loved Ethan like a father, remembering the times he hugged her every morning, told jokes when she was eating ice cream, or watched cartoons with her, even if his character impressions were terrible. She wanted to protect Ethan but feared hurting him because of Clara. Clara approached, ruffling Ava's hair. "Wow, Ava, ice cream again? You really are the #1 ice cream fan." Ava forced a smile as ice cream dripped onto her shirt. Yes, Ms. Clara. Vanilla is delicious. But Ava's eyes were sharp, observing Clara. She remembered when Clara lingered in front of the crystal vase in the living room, where a camera was hidden. Instinct told her Clara wasn't genuine. Ethan turned around, trying to keep a normal demeanor. Clara, how was your day? Clara smiled, hugging him. Tiring, but seeing you relieves all my fatigue. Ethan nodded, but a chill settled in his heart. He recalled Sophie's words. If Clara is involved, she isn't acting alone. He decided to test Clara. I'm checking the security system. There are some strange signals in the house. Do you know anything about it? Clara blinked, her smile momentarily stiffening. Strange signals? Honey, I do marketing. I'm not good with stuff like that. She laughed, smoothing his hair. Your security team probably made a mistake. Ethan nodded, but his doubts grew. After Clara went up to her room, Ava pulled Ethan into the kitchen, her eyes sparkling. Uncle Ethan, I saw something strange, she whispered, still holding the cup of ice cream, causing some drops to fall on the floor. Ethan knelt down, wiped the ice cream off Ava's chin, smiling ruefully. You messy girl. What's strange? Ava lowered her voice. Yesterday, while you were at your meeting, I saw Mr. James meeting Ms. Clara in the garden. They said something, then Ms. Clara handed him a USB. Ethan froze. James Thornton, his business partner at Nexlify and someone he trusted since college. James, with his generous smile and encouraging words. Could he betray him? Ethan remembered recent meetings when James pushed for sharing Vision Core data with external partners. To expand the market, James said, but now Ethan doubted. Ava, are you sure? Ava nodded, ice cream smearing her nose, creating a humorous moment amid the tension. Absolutely. I even snapped a photo with my tablet, although it's a bit blurry. I think Mr. James knows about the cameras. Ethan squeezed Ava's shoulder, swelling with pride. You're really good. Now give me the tablet. Ava ran upstairs, brought the tablet down, showing Ethan the blurry photo. Clara handing the USB to James by the oak tree in the garden. Ethan sat down, examining the tablet. He opened Nexlify's management system on his laptop, searching for data leaks. After a few minutes, he discovered an anonymous account had downloaded important Vision Core files last week from the computer in James's office. Ethan turned pale. James, he whispered, his heart aching. He remembered the startup days with James, sharing the American dream of building a world-changing company. Now, James might be the one destroying that dream. Ava looked at Ethan, her heart conflicted. She recalled when James brought her chocolate ice cream, smiling as he said, "You're my ice cream princess." But now, she doubted every smile. Uncle Ethan, are you going to talk to Mr. James? Ethan shook his head, placing a hand on Ava's head. Not yet. I need more concrete evidence, and I don't want you in danger. Ava nodded, but the determination in her eyes didn't fade. I'll help you. I promise I'll be careful. She smiled, ice cream stuck between her teeth, making Ethan laugh. You're a walking ice cream. Tomorrow I'll get you mint ice cream, how about that? Ava cheered. Mint is the best. The next morning, Ethan called Sophie to the Nexlify office, a modern glass building in downtown San Francisco. Sophie brought her laptop, analyzing the camera signals. Ava was right, Sophie said, typing quickly. The signal leads to a server at Embarcadero Center. But James, are you sure? Ethan nodded, showing Sophie the photo Ava took. Sophie frowned. If James is involved, you're facing a big conspiracy. Vision Core could be sold to a competitor. Ethan clenched his fists, remembering Ava's affection, how she risked herself to protect him. He couldn't let her down. That night, Ethan watched Ava sleeping on the sofa, holding an empty ice cream cup, her curly hair draping across her face. He remembered Ava's drawing, two people holding hands under the Golden Gate Bridge. He promised to protect Ava, no matter how painful the truth about Clara and James might be. But was James the mastermind? And had Clara noticed Ava's surveillance? Have you ever doubted your best friend? Share your thoughts in the comments and follow True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to uncover the truth in the next part. Clara Evans stepped out of the mansion on Nob Hill, her white dress fluttering in the San Francisco afternoon breeze, her smile as bright as the sunlight reflected on the bay. But Ethan Caldwell, standing behind the living room window, no longer felt warmth. He tightened his grip on the phone, just having received a message from Sophie Harper. Camera signal leads to Embarcadero Center. There's a trace of Novatech. The blurry photo Ava took, Clara handing a USB to James Thornton under the oak tree out back, felt like a stab to his heart. 4 hidden spy cameras in the house. Office, living room, bedroom, garage, and evidence of Vision Core data leaks from James's computer made Ethan doubt everything. He took a deep breath, trying to shake off the image of Clara snuggling against him last night, whispering "I love you" beside the flickering candles. But was it love, or a perfectly staged act? Ava sat cross-legged on the living room carpet, holding a cup of mint chocolate chip ice cream fresh from the freezer. She secretly typed on her tablet, her brown eyes gleaming with determination and worry. The ice cream dripped onto the carpet, creating light green stains, but Ava didn't notice. She had just sent an encrypted message to Sophie. "Ms. Clara just left. Can you find more signals?" Sophie replied immediately. "Be careful, Ava. Don't let Clara suspect you." Ava bit her lip, her fingers pausing on the screen. She hummed "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," a song her mother used to lull her to sleep, as a way to soothe herself. She wanted to protect Ethan, whom she loved like a father, but feared he wouldn't believe Clara was the culprit. Ethan stepped in, seeing Ava typing on the tablet. He sat down on the sofa, his voice low. "Ava, what are you doing? Homework?" Ava was startled, her hand trembling, causing the ice cream to splash onto her nose, creating a humorous moment amidst the tense atmosphere. "Oops, just checking my homework." She wiped her nose with her sleeve, giving an awkward smile, leaving a green mark on her cheek. Ethan frowned, realizing Ava was hiding something. He leaned in, looking directly into her eyes. "You don't need to do anything dangerous. I'll handle Clara and James." Ava bowed her head, gripping the tablet until her hands turned white. "But I want to help you. I know you love Ms. Clara, but I feel she's not sincere." She was standing close to the vase, hiding the camera, like checking something. Ethan sighed, patting Ava's head, feeling her soft curly hair. "Ava, I know you're worried about me, but accusing Clara, I need to be sure." Ava looked up, her voice shaky, eyes red. "You don't believe me, do you? I just want you safe." Her words felt like a sharp knife, stabbing Ethan with pain. He kneeled down, clutching Ava's hand, his heart filled with regret. "Ava, I believe you found the camera. I believe you saw Clara and James exchange the USB. But Clara says she doesn't know anything about technology. I need to give her a chance to explain." Ava withdrew her hand, standing quickly, her voice choking. "I don't want you to be hurt like me, like when I lost my parents." She ran out to the garden, her tiny feet gliding down the hallway, leaving behind the melting ice cream cup on the table. Ethan chased after her, his heart aching, calling out loudly, "Ava, wait for me." Under the oak tree in the garden, where Clara and James exchanged the USB, Ava sat hugging her knees, her shoulders trembling. The afternoon breeze blew through, carrying the scent of fresh grass and sea salt from the San Francisco Bay. Ethan sat next to her, saying nothing, just gently pulling Ava into his arms. "Ava, I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I didn't mean to make you feel sad. You're my family, and I won't let you feel abandoned." Ava nestled against him, her tears soaking Ethan's shirt. "I know you love Ms. Clara, but I'm afraid she'll hurt you. I don't want to lose you." Ethan held Ava tightly, his heart aching, remembering the first day he brought her home, that timid handshake, and how Ava gradually opened up, drawing pictures of them holding hands under the Golden Gate Bridge. "You won't lose me," he promised, his voice firm. "I'll find the truth. But I need you by my side, okay?" Ava nodded, wiping her tears, snuggling closer, as if fearing Ethan would disappear. Meanwhile, Sophie Harper worked at the Nexlify office, a gleaming glass building in downtown San Francisco, neon lights reflecting on the windows. She typed quickly, the laptop screen displaying camera signal data, lines of code running like streams of water. "Ava's right," Sophie murmured, sending a message to Ethan. "The server at Embarcadero Center belongs to a Novatech shell company, Nexlify's competitor. James could be an insider, but Clara might be the coordinator." Ethan read the message in the kitchen, his eyes darkening. He remembered the early days of starting the business with James Thornton, sharing the American dream of a company that would change the world. They used to sit in a small garage, eating cold pizza, planning Vision Core. But the undeniable evidence of data leaks from James's computer was clear. Ethan replied to Sophie, "Meet me tomorrow morning at Mission District. Need a plan." The next morning, Ethan and Sophie met at a small cafe in Mission District, the scent of cinnamon rolls and freshly roasted coffee wafting through the air, walls adorned with vibrant graffiti. Ava sat beside them, holding a new cup of mint chocolate chip ice cream, secretly typing on her tablet under the table, eyes gleaming with curiosity. Sophie opened her laptop and pointed to the screen. "Ethan, Novatech is after Vision Core. If James and Clara are involved, they don't just want the data. They could destroy Nexlify with a major scandal, like accusing you of selling company secrets." Ethan frowned, his voice deep. "Clara does marketing, doesn't know AI. She can't be the mastermind." Sophie shook her head, her eyes sharp behind black-rimmed glasses. "She might be the cover." Ava saw Clara hand the USB to James. "The girl isn't lying." Ava chimed in, her voice excited, but the ice cream splattered on Sophie's shirt, making all three burst into laughter. "Sorry, Ms. Sophie, but I hacked a message from the server. Someone texted, 'The package is ready this week.' I think they're up to something big." Ethan froze, looking at Ava, his heart swelling with pride mixed with worry. "You hacked a message? Ava, you shouldn't do dangerous things." Ava bowed her head, ice cream smudging her lips, her voice small. "I just want to help you." Sophie ruffled Ava's hair, teasing. "Little hacker, next time keep the ice cream away from the laptop. But you're very smart. This message is a major lead." Ethan looked at Ava, then at Sophie, his heart restless. "Sophie, if Clara's involved, I need clear evidence. I don't want to destroy her, or hurt Ava." Back at the mansion, Ethan stood in the office, looking at the painting that used to conceal a camera, now lying on the table. He touched the wooden frame, remembering Clara's smile when she gifted it. "To make your office less dry." But now, every gesture of hers felt suspicious. He opened his laptop, checked Nexlify's data, found another Vision Core file downloaded from James's computer this morning. Ethan gripped his hands, determined to confront James at next week's meeting. But he still hesitated about Clara, afraid of shattering the love he once believed was real. Ava entered, holding an empty ice cream cup, her curly hair disheveled. "Uncle Ethan, are you okay?" Ethan gave a sad smile, pulling Ava to sit beside him. "I'm okay, thanks to you." Ava snuggled against him, whispering, "I won't let anyone hurt you. Is Clara a cover for Novatech? And did Ava inadvertently put Ethan in danger by hacking the messages? Have you ever been misunderstood while trying to protect someone? Share your story in the comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to save Ethan in the next installment. Every viewer like you is a flame, lighting up stories that touch the heart. Drizzling rain fell on the streets of San Francisco, casting a hazy layer over the windows of the mansion on Nob Hill. Ethan Caldwell stood in the kitchen, holding a phone, rereading the message from Sophie Harper. The message Ava hacked shows the package will ship this week. Novatech is behind it. Need to act fast. The blurry photo Ava took, Clara handing a USB to James under the oak tree, and the Vision Core data leaked from James's computer kept Ethan up at night. But yesterday, when Ava ran into the garden, eyes red because she thought he didn't believe her, Ethan knew he had hurt the most important person. He looked out the window where Ava was sitting on the porch, holding a tablet, her curly hair wet from the rain. He had to make things right today. In the living room, Ava tapped on her tablet, her brown eyes glistening with determination. She had just hacked a clip from a camera hidden in a crystal vase. Clara and James whispering in the garage last night. Ava bit her lip, hands trembling as she watched. Clara giving James another USB, her voice low. "Don't let Ethan suspect. Novatech wants Vision Core before Friday." Ava clenched the tablet, her heart aching. She wanted to run to Ethan, scream the truth, but remembered his hesitant look when he defended Clara. She hummed "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," the song her mother used to sing to lull her, to hold back tears. The mint ice cream in the cup beside her melted, staining her sleeve, but Ava didn't notice. Ethan stepped out onto the porch, holding an umbrella, shielding Ava from the rain. "You're all wet," he said gently, sitting next to her. Ava lowered her head, clutching the tablet. "I'm not cold," Ethan sighed, placing his hand on Ava's shoulder. "Ava, I'm sorry about yesterday. I don't want you to think I don't trust you. You're the person I trust the most." Ava looked up, her eyes red. "But you still defend Ms. Clara. I'm afraid you'll get hurt." Ethan pulled Ava into his embrace, feeling her shoulders tremble. "I was wrong. I'll listen to you and we'll find the truth together." Ava nestled close, whispering, "Promise." Ethan nodded, patting her head. "Promise." To make amends, Ethan led Ava into the kitchen where he had secretly prepared a surprise. On the table was a vibrant ice cream party. Chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, mint ice cream topped with chocolate sprinkles, marshmallows, and fruit. "Tada!" Ethan exclaimed, raising his hands like a magician. Ava's eyes widened, mouth agape, the old ice cream on her shirt now forgotten. "Oh my gosh, it's a whole world of ice cream." She rushed forward, grabbing a spoon and scooping a heap of chocolate ice cream, marshmallow toppings scattering everywhere. Ethan laughed, wiping ice cream off Ava's cheek. "Slow down, little hacker, or you'll become mobile ice cream." Ava giggled for the first time in days, lighting up the kitchen. Amid the ice cream party, Sophie arrived carrying a laptop, a serious look in her eyes. "Ava, you sent me the clip from the garage camera. I've confirmed. Clara and James are transferring Vision Core data to Novatech." Ava stopped eating, the spoon hovering midair. "I knew it. Ms. Clara lied." Ethan stood frozen, looking at Sophie. "The clip? Let me see." Sophie opened the laptop, playing the clip. Clara handing the USB to James, her voice cold. "Novatech pays $2 million. Don't mess this up." James nodded, slipping the USB into his pocket. Ethan clenched his hands, his heart breaking. Clara, the woman he once dreamed of a family with, was a traitor. Ava looked at Ethan, her eyes teary. "Uncle Ethan, I'm sorry. I didn't want you to be sad." Ethan knelt down, hugging Ava tightly. "You're not at fault. You saved me. I'm the one who should apologize for not listening to you sooner." Ava burst into tears, nestling against him, her tears soaking Ethan's shirt. "I just want you safe. I don't want to lose you," she sobbed, then whispered, her voice breaking. "Daddy." Ethan froze, his heart seeming to stop. Ava, who once shyly called him Uncle Ethan, now called him Daddy. He hugged Ava tighter, tears stinging his eyes. "You won't lose me, sweetheart. Daddy's here forever." Sophie stood beside them, smiling, her eyes shimmering. After the emotional moment, Ethan wiped his tears, his voice resolute. "Sophie, Ava, we need a plan. Clara and James can't get away." Sophie nodded, opening her laptop. "This clip is evidence, but Novatech will deny it. We need to trap them, make them reveal themselves." Ava, still nestled with Ethan, chimed in, ice cream smudged on her lips. "I have an idea. We pretend to let Ms. Clara take a fake Vision Core file, then track them." Sophie raised an eyebrow but smiled. "Wow, little hacker, that's a great idea. But the fake file needs a tracking code." Ethan nodded, pride welling up. "Ava, when did you think of that?" Ava grinned mischievously, scooping more ice cream. "Since eating strawberry ice cream makes me smart." All three laughed, the kitchen filled with laughter amidst the storm. Ethan stood up, looking at Sophie. "How do we do it?" Sophie typed briskly, her voice firm. "You create a fake Vision Core file on the Nexlify server. I'll set up a tracking code to trace where the file goes. When Clara or James downloads it, we'll have evidence leading to Novatech." Ava raised her hand, ice cream splattering on the table, making Sophie dodge with a laugh. "Let me help set the code. I know how." Ethan shook his head, teasing. "Move the ice cream away from the laptop first." Ava wiped the table, giggling, but her eyes shone with determination. That night, Ethan sat in the office watching Ava sleep on the sofa, clutching a tablet, an empty ice cream cup beside her. He remembered the moment Ava called Daddy, feeling like the whole world lit up. He opened the laptop, starting to create the fake file, his resolve firm. Clara and James may have deceived him, but they couldn't touch Ava. Sophie from the nearby table looked up. "Ethan, are you okay?" He nodded, his voice deep. "Thanks to Ava, I'm okay. But Clara, I still can't believe she's so cruel." Sophie placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice gentle. "Sometimes, people hide better than we think. But you have Ava, and she's everything. Will the plan to trap Clara and James succeed? Will Novatech reveal itself before causing harm? Have you ever had a moment that changed a relationship forever? Like Ava calling Ethan Daddy? Share your story in comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to protect her family in the next part. Each viewer like you is a flame, lighting up great dreams. The moonlight streamed through the window of the mansion on Nob Hill, casting a silver sheen on the desk where Ethan Caldwell and Sophie Harper were typing continuously. The fake Vision Core file containing a tracking code had been uploaded to the Nexlify server, ready for Clara and James to fall into their trap. The clip of Ava hacking a garage camera, Clara handing a USB to James, mentioning Novatech, still playing on the laptop, was a constant reminder of betrayal. Ethan clenched his hands, heart aching, but the moment Ava called him Daddy during the ice cream party yesterday steeled his resolve. He glanced at Ava, asleep on the sofa, An empty chocolate ice cream cup rolled beside her, her curly hair covering her face. Ethan smiled, feeling warm. He would protect Ava, even at the cost of a broken heart. Sophie looked up, her black-rimmed glasses slipping down her nose. Ethan, the fake file is ready. If Clara or James download it, the tracking code will lead us to the Novatech server. Ethan nodded, his gaze solemn. Good. But we need to make sure they don't suspect anything. Sophie typed a few more lines of code, her voice confident. I disguised the file as a genuine Vision Core update. Clara isn't tech-savvy, but James will take the bait. Ethan looked at Sophie, recognizing the dedication in her green eyes. He recalled her days at Nexlify, always the first to arrive and last to leave. Sophie, thank you. I owe you a lot. Sophie chuckled lightly, pushing up her glasses. Consider it paying off old debts. But this time, don't let anyone kick you off the team again. Ethan bowed his head, regretting how he let Clara pressure Sophie into quitting. He wanted to say something, but Ava yawned, waking, with ice cream streaks on her shirt rolling down to the carpet. Oops! Ava exclaimed, hurriedly picking it up, but spilled the empty cup onto Sophie's laptop. Oh no, I'm sorry! She panicked, wiping the screen with her sleeve, leaving funny chocolate streaks. Sophie laughed, retracting the laptop. Little hacker, ice cream is technology's enemy. Next time, eat away from me. Ava giggled, her messy curls lighting up the room amid the tension. Ethan laughed, the first time all day, feeling the weight lift. Ava, you're a real ice cream disaster. Come here, let me clean you up. He took a towel and wiped Ava's cheek, teasing, You're turning into a chocolate painting. Ava wrinkled her nose, pretending to swat him. Daddy, don't tease. Ice cream is delicious. The word daddy from Ava stopped Ethan in his tracks, warming his heart. He ruffled her head, feeling more determined. Sophie watched the two, her eyes glistening. Wow, this team isn't just against espionage, but is the #1 ice cream team, she teased, making Ava laugh hard, high-fiving Sophie. Amidst the laughter, Sophie turned back to the laptop, her voice serious. Ethan, Ava, we need to act. Clara is coming for dinner tonight, right? This is the chance to get her to download the fake file. Ethan nodded, his heart troubled. He remembered Clara's smile, how she would stroke his hair, but the garage clip had shattered the illusion. I'll let Clara into the office. She likes to tidy up when I'm busy. Ava interrupted, her eyes gleaming. I'll watch the camera. If Ms. Clara downloads the file, I'll report immediately. Sophie frowned but smiled. Ava, you're too bold. But okay, you keep watch, but from a distance. Ava nodded, scooping leftover ice cream, getting chocolate on her nose, making Ethan and Sophie laugh. That evening, Clara arrived wearing a fitted blue dress, with a radiant smile. Ethan, it's been a while since we had a romantic dinner like this. She kissed his cheek, the fragrance of her perfume wafting. Ethan smiled, but his eyes were cold. I wanted to make it up to you. He led Clara to the dining room, where the table was covered with a white cloth and lit with candles. Ava sat beside them, holding a new strawberry ice cream cup, pretending to read a book. Clara stroked Ava's hair. Wow, Ava, still the ice cream princess? Ava smiled weakly, with ice cream on her lips. Yes, Ms. Clara. But she secretly glanced at Ethan, her eyes saying, Be careful. During the meal, Ethan tried to appear normal, asking Clara about her work. I'm busy, but I always make time for you, Clara said, holding Ethan's hand. He nodded, but his hands clenched tight under the table. After dessert, Ethan stood up. I need to check my email in the office. Sit with Ava, okay? Clara nodded, her smile perfect. Of course, darling. But as Ethan left, Clara watched him go, her eyes briefly calculating. Ava, pretending to read, secretly opened a tablet under the table, monitoring the office camera. In the office, Ethan opened the laptop, pretending to work, but kept an eye on the door. Clara entered, her blue dress flowing in the light. "Ethan, what's got you working so hard?" She smiled, approaching the desk, her hand touching the frame hiding a camera. Ethan nodded, his voice calm. "Just checking the server. Vision Core was just updated." Clara blinked, her eyes briefly brightening. "Really? You're so smart." She stroked his hair but covertly opened her phone, typing quickly. From the dining room, Ava saw the office camera's signal flicker. "She's doing something," Ava whispered, texting Sophie. Sophie, at Nexlify, received Ava's message, typing swiftly. "Clara just accessed the server. She's downloading the fake file." Sophie texted Ethan. In the office, Ethan saw Clara leave, smiling brightly. "I'm going to get some water, darling." He nodded, but his heart raced. He opened the laptop, seeing the fake file had been downloaded. "She took the bait," he texted Sophie. Sophie replied, "The tracking code is running. By morning, we'll know where the file went." Ethan breathed a sigh of relief, but his heart still ached. Clara, whom he once loved, had betrayed him. Back in the dining room, Clara sat beside Ava, smiling gently. "Ava, how do you like the new school?" Ava nodded, strawberry ice cream on her lips, but her hand clenched the tablet. "Yes, I love it." She glanced at Ethan, her eyes asking, "Daddy, did you see?" Ethan sat down, looking at Clara, his voice deep. "Clara, thank you for tonight." Clara held his hand, but Ethan felt cold. He glanced at Ava, his eyes saying, "You were right." That night, Ethan sat beside Ava on the sofa, with her asleep, the empty ice cream cup beside her. He stroked Ava's hair, remembering the word "daddy," feeling resolved. Sophie, from the desk, looked up. "Ethan, I see you look at Ava differently now, like a real father." Ethan smiled sadly. "Thanks to her, I know what family is." Sophie nodded, her eyes gentle, and Ethan realized a new light in his heart. Could there be feelings developing between him and Sophie? And would Clara discover their trap? Have you ever experienced an unexpected bond amid dangerous lines? Share your story in the comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to protect Ethan in the next part. Every viewer like you is a flame, lighting up stories that touch hearts. Dawn peeked over the hills of San Francisco. Pale golden light filtered through the windows of the mansion on Nob Hill. Ethan Caldwell sat in his office, eyes glued to the laptop, where the tracking code from the fake Vision Core file flashed. Last night, Clara had downloaded the file, and the signal led straight to Novatech's server at Embarcadero Center. The clip Ava hacked from the garage camera, Clara handing the USB to James, mentioning the $2 million from Novatech, still haunted him. Ethan clenched his fist, heart aching but resolute. Ava, the little girl who called him daddy at the ice cream party, was the reason he had to end this conspiracy. He glanced over at Ava, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, holding a vanilla ice cream cup, tapping her tablet with sparkling brown eyes. Sophie Harper, from the adjacent desk, adjusted her black-framed glasses, speaking in a low voice. "Ethan, the tracking code confirms. The fake file has reached Novatech's main server. But they're careful. There's a second layer of encryption, like a contingency." Ethan nodded, eyes sharp. "They know we might suspect, but Ava's clip is evidence. What more do we need to make Novatech reveal themselves?" Sophie typed quickly, her laptop screen aglow. "We need a direct transaction. If James or Clara transfers data to Novatech, we can catch them in the act. Ava chimed in, ice cream smudged on her lips, her voice excited. I can hack their cameras. If they meet someone from Novatech, I'll record it. Sophie laughed, wiping Ava's chin. Little hacker, that's risky, but a good idea. Embarcadero Center's security cameras have a breach. I'll guide you. Ethan frowned, worried. Ava, isn't this too dangerous? Ava wrinkled her nose, raising her ice cream spoon like a weapon. Daddy, I'll be careful. I want to protect you. The sound of Daddy softened Ethan. He ruffled her hair, smiling wryly. Okay, but do it remotely, and listen to Ms. Sophie. Ava nodded, scooping ice cream, making marshmallow toppings fall onto her tablet, creating a humorous moment. Oops, sorry, Ms. Sophie. Sophie snatched the tablet, teasing. Ice cream is a hacker's #1 enemy, you know. Ethan laughed heartily, feeling the tension ease, noticing Sophie's gaze was gentler than usual. That morning, Ethan went to Nexlify, the gleaming glass building in the city center. He summoned an urgent meeting with the technical team, pretending to check on Vision Core's progress, but secretly observing James Thornton. James, with a broad smile, presented the market expansion plan, but Ethan noticed he clutched his pen tightly, as if anxious. After the meeting, Ethan pulled James aside. James, meet me at the Mission District bar tonight. The two of us haven't chatted in a while. James nodded, his eyes briefly uneasy. Of course, Ethan. Ethan left the meeting room, texting Sophie. James has bitten the bait. Follow him. Meanwhile, Ava and Sophie were working at the mansion. Ava, sitting on the carpet, tapped on her tablet, hacking into Embarcadero Center's security cameras under Sophie's guidance. Ms. Sophie, I got into the 15th floor cameras. Look! Ava exclaimed, but her vanilla ice cream spoon fell onto the carpet, making Sophie laugh. Ava, you're such an ice cream disaster. Wipe it up before Ethan sees it. Ava giggled, wiping it away, her eyes still glued to the screen. She spotted a clip. James meeting a strange man on the 15th floor at Novatech last night, handing over a USB. Ms. Sophie, that's Mr. James. Who is the other guy? Sophie frowned, zooming in on the clip. That's Victor Lang, Novatech's R&D director. They're transferring Vision Core data. Sophie immediately texted Ethan. Ava found a clip of James meeting Victor Lang. Novatech received the USB. Be cautious with James tonight. Ethan, driving across the Golden Gate Bridge, read the message, his heart racing. He recalled the days of starting out with James, sharing cold pizza in the garage, dreaming of the American dream. But James had betrayed him, and Clara was an accomplice. He texted back. Prepare the trap. Call the FBI if necessary. Sophie nodded, turning to Ava. You did great. But from here, let Ethan and I handle it. Ava nodded but subtly tapped on her tablet, determined to find more clues, ice cream smeared on her sleeve. That evening, Ethan met James at the Mission District Cafe, the smell of waffles and roasted coffee wafting. James sat across from him, a forced smile on his face. Ethan, we haven't grabbed a drink in ages. Something on your mind? Ethan smiled, his voice calm. Just work. Vision Core's launch is nearing. I'm worried competitors might be snooping. James blinked, gripping his beer mug. Competitors? Who would dare mess with Nexlify? Ethan leaned in, his gaze sharp. I don't know, but the data was leaked from your computer. Do you have anything to explain? James turned pale, forcing a laugh. Ethan, are you kidding? My computer was hacked. Ethan nodded but texted Sophie under the table. James denies. Monitor Clara. At the mansion, Ava watched the office cameras via her tablet, spotting Clara sneaking in. She exclaimed, making vanilla ice cream spatter the screen. Ms. Sophie, Ms. Clara is downloading the file again. She doesn't know it's fake. Sophie rushed over, typing on her laptop. Good. The tracking code is running. Clara just sent the file to Novatech. Sophie called the FBI, reporting the server location and the clip of James meeting Victor Lang. Ava raised her hand, grinning. I did it. Daddy will be proud. Sophie tousled Ava's hair, smiling. You're a star. But clean up the ice cream, little hacker. At the cafe, James stood up, his voice shaky. Ethan, I need to go. Something urgent came up. Ethan nodded but texted Sophie. James is leaving. Track him. Sophie replied. The FBI is heading to Embarcadero Center. Clara and James are about to be caught. Ethan left the cafe, driving towards Nexlify, his resolve firm. He remembered Ava's call of Daddy, Sophie's gentle gaze, and his determination to end the conspiracy. But as he arrived at Nexlify, he received a message from Sophie. Clara disappeared. She left the mansion before the FBI arrived. Ethan clenched his fist, heart pounding. Had Clara suspected the trap? At the mansion, Ava sat on the sofa, holding her tablet, her eyes red. Ms. Sophie, did I do something wrong? How did Ms. Clara escape? Sophie hugged Ava, her voice soothing. You did nothing wrong. Clara was too clever. But we have James and Novatech. You've saved Ethan. Ava nestled into Sophie, humming Somewhere Over the Rainbow, worried about Ethan. Sophie looked at Ava, realizing she wasn't just a little hacker, but the heart of this family. She texted Ethan, Ava is worried about you. Come home. Ethan read the message, turned the car back towards Nob Hill, his heart swelling with emotion. He remembered Sophie's gaze gentler each day and wondered, could his heart open once again? Will Clara escape justice? And will Novatech be fully exposed? Have you ever faced a cunning enemy but found strength through loved ones? Share your story in the comments. And join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to protect her family in the next installment. Every viewer like you is a flame igniting stories that touch the heart. A storm swept through San Francisco, lightning streaking across the sky above the hills of Nob Hill. Ethan Caldwell stood in the office of the mansion, eyes glued to his laptop, where the trace code from the fake Vision Core file blinked fiercely. The file Clara uploaded last night had reached Novatech's server at Embarcadero Center, but a message from Sophie Harper gave him chills. Clara disappeared. The FBI is surrounding Novatech, but she's not there. Ava's hack clip, Clara handing the USB to James, mentioning $2 million, and evidence of James meeting Victor Lang, Novatech's R&D director, was a fatal blow. But Clara, the woman Ethan once loved, had escaped. He clenched his fist, heartache but resolute. Ava, the little girl who called him Daddy, was the light guiding him through the darkness. Ava sat on the sofa, holding a fresh strawberry ice cream cup, her curly hair wet and messy from the rain. She tapped on her tablet, her brown eyes sparkling with worry, monitoring the Embarcadero Center security cameras. Ice cream dripped onto her shirt, making a mess as usual, but Ava didn't mind. She had just sent Sophie an encrypted message. Ms. Sophie, has the FBI arrested Uncle James yet? Sophie from Nexlify's office replied, not yet, but they're searching the 15th floor. James is trapped. Be careful and don't hack further. Ava bit her lip, murmuring Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the lullaby her mother used to sing, to quell her fear. She wanted to protect Ethan, but was afraid Clara was plotting revenge. Sophie entered the mansion, her denim jacket soaking wet, her black-rimmed glasses fogged. Ethan, the FBI confirmed James is on the 15th floor of Novatech. They found the USB containing fake Vision Core data. He can't deny it. Ethan nodded, his eyes sharp. Good. But where's Clara? She's too clever to disappear without a trace. Sophie wiped her glasses, her voice serious. I suspect Clara has a backup plan. The clip of Ava hacking shows she contacted someone outside Novatech. We need to find the second server. Ava chimed in, holding up her spoon, her voice excited. I found a strange signal from a bar at Fisherman's Wharf, not far from Embarcadero. Ice cream splattered onto Sophie's jacket, making her laugh. Little hacker, you're quite the ice cream disaster. But this signal is suspicious. Ethan turned to Ava, concerned. Ava, when did you hack this signal? Ava scrunched her nose, wiped the ice cream off her cheek and smiled sheepishly. This morning, while Daddy was buying ice cream, I was careful. Ethan sighed, patting her head. You're too reckless. From now on, let me and Ms. Sophie handle it. Ava nodded but secretly tapped away on her tablet, determined to find more clues. Sophie opened her laptop, analyzing the signal Ava found. This bar, Rusty Anchor, has a hidden server. It could be Clara's relay point. Ethan clenched his fist, resolute. We have to go there. Sophie, contact the FBI. Ava, you stay home with the sitter. Ava protested, spilling ice cream on the carpet. No, Daddy, I want to go, Sophie teased, cleaning the carpet. Oh, ice cream princess, listen to Daddy, or the house will flood with ice cream. Ava giggled, but her eyes remained worried. In the afternoon, Ethan and Sophie arrived at Rusty Anchor, an old bar at Fisherman's Wharf, the smell of beer and sea fish lingering. Neon lights flickered and patrons were sparse. Ethan scanned the room, recognizing a woman in a baseball cap in the dimly lit corner, typing on her phone. Clara, he whispered, his heart pounding. Sophie held his hand, her gaze gentle. Ethan, stay calm. The FBI is outside. They approached, but Clara looked up, her eyes piercing. She leapt up, rushing to the back door. Ethan gave chase. Sophie called the FBI. Clara's here. Back door. Rain poured down. Clara ran through the drenched alley but was blocked by FBI agents. She raised her hands. Her phone dropped into a puddle, the screen flashing a message. Vision Core ready. Transfer money now. The FBI handcuffed Clara and led her away. Ethan stood in the rain, looking at Clara, his heart aching. Why Clara? He asked, his voice hoarse. Clara smirked, unrepentant. Money, Ethan. Novatech pays more than love. Sophie placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soothing. She's not worth it. Let's go back to Ava. Ethan nodded, Sophie's gaze comforting him. They left the alley, rain still falling. But Ethan felt relief. At Novatech, the FBI arrested James Thornton, uncovering the USB and emails linked to Victor Lang. James, pale-faced, denied the charges, but Ava's hack clip and the trace code silenced him. Victor was subpoenaed. Novatech faced investigation. Ethan received the news from the FBI, messaged Sophie. It's over with James. Clara's caught. Thank you. Sophie at the mansion hugged Ava, read the message. See, little hacker? You saved Daddy. Ava beamed, strawberry ice cream smearing her lips. I knew it. But Ms. Sophie, will Daddy be mad because I hacked more? Sophie laughed, ruffled Ava's hair. Not at all. He's very proud. Ethan returned to the mansion, saw Ava and Sophie on the sofa, giggling. Ava rushed over, hugging him, ice cream smudging his shirt. Daddy, did you catch Ms. Clara? Ethan smiled, wiping ice cream off Ava's cheek. Thanks to you, my daughter. You're my superhero. Ava nestled into him, humming Somewhere Over the Rainbow, feeling at peace. Sophie stood nearby, her gaze warm. Ethan looked at her, realizing his heart was fluttering. Sophie, stay for dinner? I want to thank you. Sophie nodded, smiling. Only if Ava shares her ice cream. Ava held up her ice cream cup, laughing loudly. "Deal, but don't wipe my screen again." They all laughed, the room filled with joy. But when Ava went to bed, Ethan and Sophie sat in the kitchen, candlelight flickering. Sophie spoke about Novatech. "They planned to frame you for selling Vision Core, ruin Nexlify with a scandal. Ava's hack clip saved you." Ethan held Sophie's hand, his voice earnest. "Not just Ava. You saved me too." Sophie blushed, withdrawing her hand, but her gaze never left him. Ethan felt a new spark. But was Clara working with others? And did James reveal the whole truth? Have you ever seen justice prevail but still worried the darkness hasn't lifted? Share your story in the comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to protect her family in the next part. Each viewer like you is a flame illuminating stories that touch the heart. The San Francisco sky cleared up after the storm, golden sunlight streaming through the windows of the mansion on Nob Hill, dispelling the darkness of past days. Ethan Caldwell sat on the living room sofa, a cup of coffee in his hand, watching Ava, who sat cross-legged on the carpet, spooning chocolate ice cream with a radiant smile. Clara had been arrested by the FBI at Rusty Anchor. James Thornton was caught at Novatech, and director Victor Lang was facing investigation. Ava's hacking clip, Clara handing the USB to James, along with the tracking code from the fake Vision Core file, had uncovered the conspiracy to steal Nexlify. Yet Ethan still felt empty, his heart aching from Clara's betrayal. He glanced at Ava, the girl who called him Daddy, and his heart warmed. She was the light guiding him through the storm. Ava looked up, ice cream smeared on her cheek, her brown eyes sparkling. "Daddy, aren't you eating ice cream? The chocolate is delicious." She raised the spoon of ice cream, causing the marshmallow topping to fall onto the carpet, creating a humorous moment. Ethan laughed, wiping Ava's cheek with a napkin. "You are a true ice cream disaster. Let me try." He scooped a spoonful, making Ava squeal with joy. "Yeah, Daddy is an ice cream fan too." Ethan looked at her, emotions welling up. He remembered the day Ava ran to the garden, eyes red from thinking he didn't believe her. He remembered the Daddy bursting in the ice cream party when Ava nestled into him, afraid of losing her family. "Ava," he said, his voice deep. "You know, you saved me. Not just Nexlify, but my heart." Ava paused her eating, spoon hanging in the air, her eyes welling up. "I was afraid Daddy would be sad because of Ms. Clara. I didn't want you to lose faith in everyone." Ethan knelt down, embracing Ava, feeling her small shoulders. "You made me believe in the most important thing. Family. You are my family. Forever." Ava nestled into him, whispering, "I love you too, Daddy. Forever." She wiped her tears, getting ice cream in her hair, making Ethan laugh. "Wow, little girl. You need a bath before turning into an ice cream painting." Ava scrunched her nose, pretending to hit him. "Daddy, don't tease." Their laughter echoed throughout the room, dispelling the heavy atmosphere. Sophie Harper entered, denim jacket over her shoulder, black-rimmed glasses sliding down her nose. She carried a laptop but smiled gently, seeing Ethan and Ava. "Wow, an ice cream party round two? Do I get a share this time?" Ava squealed, ran over to Sophie and pulled her to sit down. "Ms. Sophie, have some chocolate ice cream. But don't wipe my screen again." Sophie laughed, taking the offered spoon, but Ava scooped too much, splattering ice cream on her shirt. "Ava, you are a genius of destruction," Sophie teased, wiping her shirt, her eyes sparkling as she looked at Ethan. He realized her gaze wasn't just that of a colleague, but something deeper. Ethan stood up, offering Sophie coffee. "Sophie, the FBI just called. James confessed everything. Novatech hired Clara and him to steal Vision Core, frame me for selling data, and ruin Nexlify with a scandal. Victor Lang is behind it, but they didn't expect Ava to hack the camera. Sophie nodded, typing on her laptop. Ava's clip and tracking code were the knockout blow. Novatech is collapsing, their stocks plummeting. Ava chimed in, ice cream smudged on her lips. I'm a superhero, right? Ethan patted her head, smiling. The #1 superhero, but next time hack less, eat more ice cream. Ava giggled, raising her ice cream spoon like a medal. Sophie looked at Ethan, her voice serious. Ethan, what will you do next? Nexlify is safe, but Clara, she hurt you. Ethan sighed, glancing out the window where the sunlight streamed over the distant Golden Gate Bridge. I once thought Clara was the future. But now, I know the future is Ava. And... He paused, looking at Sophie, feeling moved. And those who were there when everything fell apart. Sophie blushed, lowering her head, but her hand lightly touched Ethan's on the table. Ava, pretending to eat ice cream, sneaked a look, smiling slyly. Ms. Sophie, Daddy is blushing. Ethan was flustered, wiping ice cream from Ava's cheek to hide it. This kid, only good at teasing. Sophie laughed, her gaze gentle, and all three laughed aloud, the room filled with warm laughter. In the afternoon, Ethan took Ava and Sophie to Presidio Park, where the grass was lush and the sea breeze blew gently. Ava ran and jumped, holding a new strawberry ice cream cup, singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, smudging her clothes. Ethan and Sophie walked behind, talking about Nexlify. I want to restructure the security team, Ethan said. And I want you to come back, Sophie. Not just because you're good, but because... He paused, his gaze sincere. Sophie pushed up her glasses, her voice soft. Because what, Ethan? He held her hand, his heart racing. Because you make me believe in good things. Sophie smiled, squeezing his hand gently, but Ava ran over, interrupting. Daddy, Ms. Sophie, watch me jump over the puddle. The little girl jumped, splattering ice cream everywhere, falling face first into the ice cream, making all three laugh loudly. That night, in the mansion, Ethan and Sophie sat on the sofa, Ava asleep beside them, her empty ice cream cup rolling on the carpet. Ethan talked about Ava. She made me change. Before, I only knew work. Now I know what family is. Sophie nodded, her gaze gentle. Ava changed me too. She reminds me that, despite the world's complexity, there are still genuine hearts. Ethan looked at Sophie. His heart moved. Sophie, have you ever thought about a family? Sophie blushed but smiled. Yes, but it has to have ice cream in it. They giggled softly, their hands touching, candlelight flickering, warming the room. But when Sophie left, Ethan received a message from the FBI. Clara revealed there is an accomplice within Nexlify, not yet identified. Ethan clenched his hand, feeling uneasy. He looked at Ava sleeping, her curly hair across her face, and promised to protect her. Sophie texted, Ethan, be careful. I'll check Nexlify internally. Ethan replied, Thank you. Stay with me and Ava, okay? Sophie responded, Always. Ethan smiled, but his worries remained. Who is Clara's accomplice? And can Ethan protect Ava and Sophie? Have you ever found light after deep wounds? Share your story in the comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to protect her family in the next part. Each viewer like you is a flame that lights up the heart-touching stories. The evening sun bathed Golden Gate Park, San Francisco, in a golden hue, where sea breezes swept through the lush green grass. Ethan Caldwell, 6 months after Clara and James's arrest, kneeled on one knee before Sophie Harper, holding a sparkling ring box. Ava, the 10-year-old girl who called him Daddy, stood next to him, her pink dress fluttering, her brown eyes shining with excitement. 6 months ago, a clip of Ava hacking and tracking Vision Corps exposed Novatech. Yet the FBI's message about a mysterious accomplice in Nexlify still haunted Ethan. Today, he wanted to open a new chapter, but a big twist awaited. Ethan took a deep breath, looking at Sophie, her green eyes behind black-rimmed glasses glimmering with emotion. Sophie, you've been with me through every storm. You've made me believe in love again. Will you marry me? Sophie blushed, covering her mouth, but Ava cheered, jumping up and down. Miss Sophie, say yes. The little girl held the ring box Ethan handed to her, but her hand slipped, the box fell on the grass, and the ring rolled away. Oops, Ava exclaimed, chasing after it, her pink dress stained with dirt, strawberry ice cream from the cup she held smeared on her cheek, creating a humorous moment. Ethan laughed, ran after it, picked up the ring and wiped the dirt away. Ava, you're a ring disaster. Sophie laughed heartily, pulling Ava up, wiping the ice cream from the girl's cheek. Little hacker, let me hold the ring next time. Ava wrinkled her nose, holding a spoon. The ring is too small. Did you say yes yet? Sophie looked at Ethan, her voice choked. Yes, Ethan. Forever. Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, hugging tightly, amidst Ava's applause and a few people strolling nearby. Ava squeezed in, hugging them both, ice cream smearing Ethan's shirt. Yeah, Daddy has a wife now. Miss Sophie, will you be my bridesmaid? Ethan patted Ava's head, feeling warm inside. Number one bridesmaid always. But as all three laughed, Ethan's phone vibrated. A message from the FBI. Clara's accomplice is Ellen Tran, COO of Nexlify. She has just been arrested. Ethan froze, exchanging a worried look with Sophie. Ellen, the person he trusted from the start, was a traitor? Recalling 6 months ago, in the Nexlify office, Ellen Tran, with a professional smile and her black hair tied up high, always delivered smooth reports on Vision Corps. But Ethan remembered the times she pushed for data sharing with partners, much like James. Sophie at that time was suspicious. Ellen knows too much about the server. She could hide Clara's signals. Ethan didn't believe it, but Ava hacked into a hidden email from Ellen's computer, sent to Clara. Vision Corps will be Novatech's. Don't let Ethan suspect. The FBI, based on this email, tracked Ellen, and this morning they arrested her at SFO Airport, as she intended to flee to Singapore with a USB containing Nexlify's data. Ethan sat on a park bench, Sophie and Ava beside him. Ellen, he whispered, his heart aching. Sophie held his hand, her voice gentle. She deceived all of us. But Ava has saved you again. Ava nestled into Ethan, strawberry ice cream smudged on his shirt. Daddy, I don't want you to be sad. Now with Miss Sophie, we're a family, right? Ethan hugged Ava, kissing her forehead. Yes, my daughter. You and Miss Sophie are my family. He looked at Sophie, his eyes sincere. Thank you for everything. Sophie squeezed his hand, smiling. Thank Ava. She's the heart of us. Ava raised her cup of ice cream, cheering. Ice cream party to celebrate the proposal. But she scooped too hard, splashing ice cream onto Sophie's glasses, making all three burst into laughter. Ava, are you scooping with your eyes closed? Sophie teased, wiping her glasses. Ava giggled, running and jumping, singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, making the park lively. Ethan watched Ava, remembering the day she called Daddy at the ice cream party, resolute inside. He stood up, pulling Sophie and Ava. Let's go, ice cream team number 1. Home to plan the wedding. Ava cheered, hopping, ice cream falling on the grass. Oops, another ice cream disaster. Sophie laughed, hugging Ava, and all three left the park, the golden sun behind them. That evening in the villa, Ethan and Sophie sat on the sofa, Ava asleep beside them, an empty ice cream cup rolling on the carpet. Ethan told the FBI. Ellen confessed she worked for Novatech 2 years ago, even before Clara. She planted Clara in my life to steal Vision Core. Sophie frowned, pushing her glasses up. A big twist. But Novatech has fallen, and Ellen can't hurt you anymore. Ethan nodded, but unease lingered. I worry there's someone else. Novatech didn't act alone. Sophie held his hand firmly. Whoever they are, we'll face them together. With Ava, anything is possible. Ethan looked at Ava, her curly hair covering her face, and smiled. She's my superhero. He turned to Sophie, his voice deep. Sophie, are you scared? The wedding, the family, and the shadows that might return? Sophie smiled, touching his cheek. Afraid, but with you and Ava, I fear nothing. Just need ice cream. Ethan laughed, pulling her into an embrace, the flickering candlelight warming the room. Ava murmured in her sleep, Ice cream, Daddy, making them both chuckle softly. But when Sophie went to get water, Ethan received an anonymous message. Novatech is just the surface. Be careful, Caldwell. He clenched his hands, feeling cold inside. He looked at Ava, sleeping peacefully, and vowed to protect his family. Sophie returned, noticing his expression, worried. Ethan, what is it? He showed her the phone, his voice low. It's not over. There's someone else. Sophie nodded, squeezing his hand. We face it together as always. Ethan smiled, but the worry lingered. Who is behind Novatech? Will Ethan and Sophie's wedding proceed smoothly? Have you ever faced an unexpected twist but found strength in love? Share your story in the comments and join True Millionaire Moments to see what Ava will do to protect the family in the final part. Each viewer like you is a flame lighting up the heart-touching stories. The radiant June sunshine spread over Presidio Park in San Francisco, where wildflowers bloomed around the outdoor chapel. Ethan Caldwell, in a sleek black tuxedo, stood next to Sophie Harper, her white wedding dress fluttering like a bird's wings. Ava, the 11-year-old who calls Ethan Daddy, wore a pastel pink bridesmaid dress, holding a flower basket, her brown eyes sparkling with excitement. 6 months ago, the twist about Ellen Tran, Nexlify COO, being an accomplice of Clara, and the anonymous message suggesting a mysterious enemy, worried Ethan. But today, he saw only light, Sophie, Ava, and the family they've built through the storm. This wedding was a promise for the future, though darkness might lurk. Ava walked down the aisle, scattering rose petals, but the basket slipped from her hand, spilling flowers, making the guests laugh. Oops! Ava exclaimed, picking up the flowers, but the secretly held strawberry ice cream stained her dress, creating a humorous moment. Ethan laughed loudly, whispering to Sophie, "Our ice cream disaster." Sophie, having replaced her black-framed glasses with lenses, smiled, holding his hand. "Our little hacker makes everything cuter." Ava ran over, handing the flower basket to Sophie, the ice cream sticking to the bride's hand. "Miss Sophie, did I do well?" Sophie hugged Ava, wiping the ice cream off the girl's cheek. "Always the best, superhero." Ava beamed, bouncing around, making guests applaud enthusiastically. The pastor began with a warm voice. Ethan and Sophie, two individuals who overcame darkness to find light in each other. Ethan looked at Sophie, recalling the day she walked into the mansion, wet from the rain, helping Ava hack cameras to expose Novatech. He remembered the proposal moment at Golden Gate Park, when Ava dropped the ring, and Sophie's yes made his heart flutter. "Sophie," he said, his voice choked. "You and Ava are the family I dream of. I promise to love and protect you forever." Sophie blushed, her eyes sparkling. "Ethan, you taught me that love is strength. I promise to be by your side and Ava's, no matter how the world changes." They exchanged rings. Ava cheered, dropping a spoonful of ice cream onto the grass. "Yeah, Daddy and Miss Sophie are married." The guests laughed loudly. Ethan hugged Ava, pulling Sophie in, all three engulfed in applause. The wedding reception took place in a white tent, sparkling lights, tables covered with chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. Ava's idea. The girl ran around the party, holding a new ice cream cup, staining her pink dress, singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," keeping guests delightful. Ethan and Sophie danced, hand in hand, their eyes never leaving each other. "Mrs. Caldwell," Ethan teased, "ready to be a superhero mom?" Sophie laughed, squeezing his hand. "Ready, if Mr. Caldwell is willing to clean Ava's ice cream." Ava barged in, pulling them both. "Dance with me." The girl spun around, splashing ice cream onto Ethan's shirt, causing laughter to roar. "Ava, are you flinging ice cream with your eyes closed?" Ethan teased, wiping his shirt. Ava scrunched her nose. "Because Daddy dances terribly." Sophie laughed loudly, hugging Ava, all three soaked in happiness. In the middle of the party, Ava stood on a chair, holding a microphone, her voice sparkling. "Everyone, I have something to say." The guests went silent, looking at the girl. "I once thought I didn't have a family, but Daddy and Miss Sophie gave me a home, full of ice cream and love." The girl smiled, ice cream staining her lips. "Today, I want to launch Ava's Rainbow Fund, helping orphans like me find families and dreams." The guests applauded. Ethan hugged Ava, his eyes watering. "You make me proud, daughter." Sophie squeezed Ava's hand, her voice choked. "This fund will change many children's lives, as you've changed ours." Ava raised her ice cream cup, cheering. "Anyone supporting the fund gets free ice cream." The guests laughed loudly, raising their glasses in celebration. But as the party neared its end, Ethan received a message from the FBI. The sender of the anonymous message is not from Novatech. It's an international rival, unidentified. Be careful. Ethan tightly held Sophie's hand, exchanging glances. She nodded, whispering, "No matter who it is, we'll face them together." Ethan smiled, watching Ava bouncing around, ice cream staining her dress. With this kid, nothing is impossible. He pulled Sophie and Ava out into the yard, where fireworks exploded across the Presidio sky. Ava cheered, jumping around, letting ice cream drop to the grass. "Fireworks are so beautiful, Daddy." Ethan hugged them both, his resolve strong. "Beautiful like our family." That night, in the mansion, Ethan and Sophie sat on the sofa, Ava sleeping beside them, an empty ice cream cup rolling on the carpet. Ethan told Sophie the FBI. "They suspect a new enemy targeting Vision Corps, but there's no evidence. I'll reorganize Nexlify, enhance security." Sophie nodded, pushing her lenses, her voice firm. "I'll return to Nexlify, help you. Ava will be the ice cream advisor." They chuckled softly, but Ethan held Sophie's hand, his voice deep. "Sophie, thank you for giving me a family." Sophie touched his cheek, smiling. "Thank you for giving me Ava." They looked at Ava, mumbling "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" in her sleep, feeling warmth in their hearts. Ethan stood up, looking through the window, where the moonlight illuminated the San Francisco Bay. The anonymous message hinted at a new shadow, but he wasn't afraid. Ava, with her brave heart and sticky ice cream cup, had taught him that family is strength. Sophie, with her sincere love, was the guiding light. He returned seeing Sophie hugging Ava and smiled. No matter what challenges the future might bring, they would face them together, just like the days overcoming Novatech. Ethan whispered, "We will always shine, right, Ava?" The girl mumbled in her sleep, "Ice cream, forever," making them both laugh. Ethan, Sophie, and Ava's story concludes, not just with a happy ending, but an inspiring journey, a reminder that love and family overcome all darkness. The path ahead might be full of challenges, but with Ava's rainbow and their love, the light will never go out. What do you think their family will face with the new shadow? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to True Millionaire Moments to catch heart-touching stories. Each viewer like you is the flame lighting up great dreams.